Back to additive manufacturing and 3D printing uses Ansys SpaceClaim. This week, we'll be covering working more with 3D data. In the previous week, we discussed what 3D printing was, how 3D modeling is related to 3D printing, how the two work together, and how we can start creating our own 3D models starting from a 2D sketch. We covered sketch mode and 3D mode. We covered different sketch tools that you can use to create your 2D geometry. And we also covered using 2D geometry as a base for the 3D geometry using 3D mode and the pull tool. We also covered the revolve aspect of the pull tool. Among all of these, we also covered the Ansys SpaceClaim workspace environment and how to navigate around this workspace using the different hotkeys and the middle mouse button plus Control and Shift to move around the viewport. In this section, we are going to cover pulls on multiple area sketches, creating holes, or also called the reverse pull, and some 3D features such as chamfers and fillets. The learning objectives for this week are learning how to use the pull tool on a multiple area sketch, learning how to sketch on the surface of a 3D model to create some reference geometry, learning how to use the pull tool to subtract data from 3D geometry or to cut away parts or sections of 3D geometry, and also learning how to use the fillet and chamfer tools on 3D models. Right now, we are going to cover pull on multiple area sketches. So, what is a pull on a multiple area sketch? In the previous week, when we used the pull tool, in our sketch, we only had one enclosed or encapsulated area. The sketch over here, given on the right, has more than one enclosed surface area. So what would happen if we try to use the pull tool on this geometry? Let's have a bit of a play around. Let's quickly set our view along the z-axis, pan it a bit and zoom in a bit, just for ease of reference. Let's draw some really basic geometry. If we draw one circle, the area within the circle, that's an encapsulated area. That would just be one. But if we draw a second circle on the inside, you can see that you have at least two encapsulated areas, one defined by the larger circle and one defined by the inner circle. If we hit the pull tool button, what's going to happen is, obviously it turns our sketch into surface areas, but if we highlight or hover over the sketch or the surface areas, you can see that it allows you to select more than one area of the sketch. This is the multiple area that I was talking about previously. So, what happens if we select the outer area of the sketch to use the pull tool on, and we just drag it? It only affects the outer area of the circle. But what if we wanted to pull all of the area, encapsulated area, by both of the circles? You could also click the inner area and pull this out as well. But obviously, it's not that easy to actually align them through one pull operation. There is a much simpler way to do this. If we just hit Ctrl Z to revert back to the initial flat 2D geometry, if we click on the first area and hold Ctrl or Shift to select the second area as well, as you would normally in a Word document when you want to select different or multiple sections, similarly in Excel as well. You'd use the Control and click method to select multiple items, or Shift and click to select all of the items in a row. You can do or use the same hotkeys in SpaceClaim. Once we select both areas, we can actually pull both of them at the same time. Now let's go back. So you can pull one section, second section, and you could create some relatively complicated or interesting geometry using this method. If we just get rid of this and experiment a bit more with some additional geometry. So let's do another example. Let's create a square, and in the square we'd like to create a few sections over here. Just roughly sketching these things. You can see how quickly, with just a few clicks, we can create a nice little drink holder tray, or by clicking the circular surface areas over here, selecting all of them using Control, you can create an analogy of a little Lego brick. And obviously it affects all the highlighted areas at the same time, the pull tool. Similarly, as we covered in the previous week, if you wanted to give some specific dimensions to your pull or extrude, you can do this right next to the parameter window box. So if you wanted to give it an exact dimension of 5 millimeters, you can do so. Also, if you wanted to affect this one as well, you could also do that too. So we covered the pull on a multiple area sketch. Yes, an additional thing that I need to mention. So if we go back a few steps, when we are at this point, if we just wanted to create a little flat plate with 4 holes in it, you could simply just extrude the outer surface area. However, if you look closely in the design tree, you still have a surface body over here in the whole section. That was defined initially when we are doing the pull. If I go back another step, this is a whole surface area that was created when we entered 3D mode. After we pulled this section of the model out, we're still left with this surface area, which is not technically a hole. To get rid of that, you can simply select that surface area and hit delete, and there you go. It doesn't exist anymore, it's simply a hole. Or you could just simply, with the select button, select each one and delete them in turn. That's in case you wanted, let's say, to have a few holes and a few sections to be extruded. So if we selected these ones and pulled on this area, we could have 2 protrusions and 2 holes simultaneously. Okay, so we covered all of this as well in the example or demonstration. Okay, let's move on to the first exercise. This one should be relatively simple. This is for you to play around and experiment a bit with multiple area pulls. I would like you to create a representation of a staircase from a simple 2D geometry or sketch that's analogous to 4 simple squares connected to each other. And using the multiple area pull, create a stair-step effect.